I had had experience in business, and I had had brief experience in managing a tax-exempt organization. The DeWaters Charitable Trust had a fixed life. They had to distribute everything within 25 years after the death of the donor, which was patterned after a Detroit trust. I think it was the Cousins Trust, and they said basically, spend it in 25 years and then let somebody else do the work. So at any rate, they were faced after several years with more money than they knew they had. And they were looking for somebody, because this was run by Michigan National Bank at that time, looking for somebody who had some business experience and knew something about the community. Well, I happened to be there, and it looked like an interesting place to go. So that's what I did. Let me first go back to the DeWaters Trust. I seem to be going back to that more than I thought I might, but we had the latitude as a private foundation to, I don't want this to be put negatively, not be encumbered by, say, political processes and things of that nature. We had a very good scholarship fund, which brought other money into in this case, the Flint Board of Education, which was, I believe, very helpful and significant. We had another project, I recall, that basically was, give me a second, I'll tell you the name of it. Anyway, mini grant program to teachers. Not circumvented in that sense, but went directly to teachers and said, you have a little project in your classroom that might be $1,000 or $2 that you would like to have support for. We got a wealth of requests, and we made these grants, and that sprung forth, to other things that may have been expanded in the school system. A third one there, the biggest grant we made was, at the time, the University of Michigan was contemplating moving its campus to downtown Flint. And they had to go through, of course, the political process, they being the U of M. Mott Foundation had not made a commitment to it. We made a commitment for $1 million and said, this was huge this was way out of our realm, but we thought it was important enough to do that. And we put that on the table. And when they talked to some local legislators, and then the Mott Foundation came in shortly thereafter, I doubt that we prompted it, but we eased the path just a little bit with that one. The Welch Foundation, which I've been on too long, will be leaving next year. Yeah, finally. And we have the goal of supporting projects for young people, programs for young people that might not be available through the regular course of events or whatever. We've supported for a number of years, for instance, the Flint, which is now a regional science fair, allowing young people the opportunity to participate not only locally, but at an international level with science projects. We continue to support that. We have supported a program for young people with the Flint Institute of Music, which has grown into one of the largest in the United States in terms of participation. And that might be teaching lessons, that might be whatever. But it's been gratifying to see the expansion, not that we have stopped supporting it, but that more support has come in from other directions, somewhat as a result of maybe what we did. But we've got to think out of the box, right? Right. This might not have much to do with philanthropy, but it does in a sense. I was invited as a member of as the executive director of the Ruth Mott Fund to attend a session at Ann Arbor, which President Ford and President Carter cooperated on after their terms were through. And they would meet in alternate years. Down at Emory University, they'd meet for President Carter in Ann Arbor, and they would discuss international issues. The Ruth Mott Fund was involved at that point with international security as one of its programs. So that allowed me to get out of the house and, go to various places in the country. It was very interesting. Great growth period for me personally. And at any rate, I was queued up for this breakfast. And I turned around, and behind me is President Ford. And I said, President Ford, welcome back to Michigan. Oh, he said, how wonderful. I told him I was from Flint and Ruth Mott Fund and so forth. He said, well, let's sit down together. He said, I want to talk about Michigan. Now, here were all these Zygmunt Brzezinski and you name it, people wanting to get on his elbow, and he wanted to sit down and talk about Michigan. We talked in large measure about environment. And his parting shot, which is still applicable today, he said, Michigan would do well if academia in the state would get together and work hard on finding a solution to desalinating the ocean's water. Now, we're not 1,000 miles from an ocean, but his desire to protect the integrity of the Great Lakes was clear at that point in time, and that continues to stick with me. And would it be a worthy project for Michigan universities, academia to cooperate on, to try and do that to protect the Great Lakes? Not that it is not important to keep carp out of the lakes or things of that nature. I'm not demeaning that, but he was really thinking about the integrity of our water supply. I was raised in a small town in Ohio, about 1,700 people. My graduating class was 25. I went to school, graduated with a degree in business. I think the early service, you can't ignore the church, and the founders of our Constitution and our country did not ignore the church either. That's why we're here, because of this sector which is not governmental and not business. And the church was the start of that. So you learn to give a dime at church. You learn to share a little bit there. And you might be put on, not what's on a committee, but you might be asked for advice along the way. So that, I'm sure, was a factor in my upbringing. My mother, I have a brother who's still alive, 62, severely retarded and handicapped. She did everything, including building a building for them. I mean, didn't pay for it, but she was out hustling other people to help with that process to do something better for my brother Joe. That I look back on as clearly a factor. My father too, but my mother was really he was out trying to make money, and Mom really worked hard at that and with good results. So I suspect that's all a part of it. And then to get involved, this may seem almost an aside, but I raised in a small town. Big cities scared me. Colleges scared me. After I got to Flint, Michigan, I was able to put aside my fear of being in front of a group of people. Toastmasters in this case. It could be something else for somebody else. Didn't learn it in college, and came to that, and that led to more volunteerism, and then for whatever route it took. But I've run the DeWaters Charitable Trust, the Mallory Charitable Trust, the Ruth Mott Fund. I'm still on the board of the Welch Foundation after these many years. I was on the board of the YWCA Foundation, on the board of the Community Foundation of Greater Flint, its predecessor, which was the Flint Area Health Foundation. I was on that board and helped with the merger of two groups which formed the Community Foundation. So one one thing seemed to lead to another, and a lot of them were obviously related to foundations and philanthropy.